Excuse me, how much longer until I'm called? The receptionist replied, we just called you. What? I said, surprised. Quickly, I rushed into the examination room. To my shock, I saw my husband, Dan, inside. Why are you here? I asked. John's face went pale. In a panic, he tried to get me out of the room, but before I could leave, something unbelievable happened. My name is Christy Thomas, and I'm 27 years old. I have a younger sister, and I work in a corporate office. 3 years ago, I married John, my college sweetheart. We had dated for 4 years before tying the knot. Even now, we're like best friends, always able to talk about anything. Right now, I'm 7 weeks pregnant. After we got married, we wanted to have a child, but it took time. After 2 years of trying, we finally succeeded, and now I'm expecting. When I went to the doctor, I saw the baby's gestational sac and a little fetus on the ultrasound. I haven't told John yet because I wanted to surprise him. On the way back from the doctor, I bought a cake and ingredients to cook John's favorite meal. Once I got home, I started preparing dinner. A few hours later, John came home. Wow, this looks amazing, he said, noticing the special meal I had prepared, even my favorite beef stew. That's right, I thought we should have a party today, I replied. A party? Why? Actually, I went to the hospital today, I said, handing him the ultrasound picture. John stared at the photo, his face showing surprise and disbelief. Christy, is this real? Yes, Dan, we're going to be parents, I said. Tears filled his eyes, and he hugged me tightly. Overjoyed, thank you, he said, smiling through his tears. Ever since that day, John has taken on even more household chores to help me. He's doing the heavier tasks like grocery shopping and cleaning, and he even schedules my prenatal checkups to make things easier for me. Since I'm not great with the internet, I've been managing my mild morning sickness while continuing to work. It's not too bad, so I can still do my job. When I get home, I usually make dinner and wait for John to come back. Lately, he's been working a lot of overtime and doesn't get home until after 9 p.m. But tonight was different. Even after 10 p.m., John still wasn't home, and he hadn't called me like he usually does when he's running late. I tried calling him, but he didn't answer. I waited anxiously, and then, just after 11 p.m., I heard the front door open. I rushed to greet him. Dan, welcome home. I was worried because you didn't contact me. Sorry, something came up, he mumbled. But you weren't supposed to have overtime today, right? Did something happen? I asked, feeling uneasy. No, just some unexpected word, he replied, avoiding eye contact. Something didn't feel right. His behavior was off. I felt uneasy and confronted him. Dan, are you hiding something? What? No, I'm not hiding anything, he responded, but he still wouldn't look me in the eye. If you're not hiding anything, then why can't you tell me where you were and what you were doing? I asked. I told you, I got caught up with some work. A junior messed up, and I had to step in to fix it, he said defensively. But even if that's true, couldn't you have sent me a message? I called and texted you several times, I insisted. I was busy. I didn't have time to answer your calls, he snapped, his voice suddenly loud and angry. This wasn't like him at all, and it shocked me. Panting with frustration, he continued, after all I do, working late, and then I come home to be doubted. What nerve. Is it fun for you to make a fool out of me? I was taken aback. What are you talking about? I'm not making a fool out of you. I'm just asking why you were late, I said, confused and hurt. I told you it was because of overtime. What more do you want? John snapped. It's not about that. It's because you didn't contact me like you always do. That's why I thought something was wrong, I explained. Enough. You're being so stubborn. Is it because you're pregnant that you're having these wild delusions? His words shocked me. What? Listen, Christy, when you give birth, you won't be able to work, and who's going to support us then? Me. So if you want to be supported, stop interfering with my work, he said angrily. John stormed off, throwing his suit aside, and went straight to the bath. After that, he shut himself in the bedroom. I stood there, staring at the dinner I had prepared, untouched. I felt an overwhelming rush of emotions. Why would he say such hurtful things? I was just worried about him, but calling it delusions felt too harsh. Since that night, John started treating me coldly. He often came home late, sometimes in the early hours of the morning. It became rare for him to be home by 9 p.m. like before. As my pregnancy continued, Dan, who used to help with household chores, stopped doing anything around the house, leaving everything to me. Doing all the chores alone, while trying not to put too much strain on my body, was wearing me down. I couldn't handle it anymore, so I decided to call my younger sister, Karen. "Hey Karen." "Oh, Sis, long time no talk. What's up?" she replied. "I had a bit of an argument with John," I said. "Oh really? You two are like that, saying more you argue, the closer you get," Karen joked. She's 3 years younger than me and works in the fashion industry. We've always been close, like two peas in a pod. When I was dating John, she was the one I always turned to for advice. She's an irreplaceable part of my life. That day, she listened to me talk for almost an hour. By the time I hung up, I felt a little better. I was now 17 weeks pregnant, and my belly was starting to show. Feeling stable and fine, I headed to work as usual. But after lunch, just as I was about to start my afternoon tasks, something happened. I suddenly felt a strange twinge in my belly. What was that? The pain didn't go away right away, and I started to worry about my baby. Feeling anxious, I decided to leave work early and go to the women's clinic where I usually go for checkups. Normally, John would make my appointments, but this was unexpected, and I didn't have one today. I knew I'd probably have to wait a while, but the idea of going home without getting checked made me even more nervous. Ready for the wait, I went to the front desk and explained, "Excuse me, I'm Christy Thomas. I've been having some mild belly pain." "Please wait a moment," the receptionist said. "I don't have an appointment today because it was unexpected," I added. After a moment, the receptionist checked the system and said, "Oh, you're Christy Thomas, right? 17 weeks pregnant. We already have an appointment for you today. Please take a seat." Ah, I was confused, but I sat it down as she instructed. I checked my planner, but there was no appointment scheduled for today. Things had been a little awkward between John and me lately, but he still made all my medical appointments as usual. My next one wasn't until later, though, so this didn't make sense. Trying to shake off the uneasiness, I decided to just wait. After about an hour, I felt another stomachache and went to the restroom. When I came back, I realized I still hadn't been called, which seemed strange. The clinic was busy, but I thought I should have been seen by now. Maybe there was a mix-up. I went back to the front desk and asked a different staff member, "Excuse me, do you know how much longer it will be until I'm called?" "May I have your name, please?" "Christy Thomas," I replied. "I've been waiting for over an hour." The receptionist checked and said, "Oh, you were already called." "What?" I was shocked. "You should have been sent to consultation room number 3, she said. I thanked her and quickly headed to room 3. The sign on the door said, "In consultation." I was supposed to be in there, but I hadn't been called. Did someone else go in by mistake? I knocked on the door, and a nurse opened it. "Can I help you?" she asked. "I'm Christy Thomas. I had to use the restroom earlier, but the receptionist said I was already called. The sign says in consultation, so I thought someone else might have gone in by mistake." The nurse looked confused. "Wait, you're Christy Thomas, but she's already inside." What? My heart sank. Something was definitely wrong. I couldn't hold back anymore. I pushed past the nurse and entered the room. What I saw took my breath away. Standing there in the room was my husband, Gan. When John saw me, he started speaking in a flustered way. "Christy, what are you doing here?" "That's what I was going to ask. Why are you here?" "Well, Gan, did you make this appointment under my name? But why?" "Just get out for now." John tried to push me out of the room, but everything seemed so suspicious that I refused to leave. explain this to me. Why are you here right now? I'll explain later, but for now. No, I want an explanation now. You can expect me to just leave, can't you? Please, I'm begging you, just go for now. As we argued, the doctor came back into the room, looking confused. Wait, Christy, what are you doing here? The doctor seemed surprised to see me. Doctor, I just got here, I said. Then who did I just examine? Just as he said that, the door opened, and out came my sister, Karen. Karen. I was completely shocked. Why was my sister here? What was going on? Karen stammered, clearly not knowing what to say. Frustrated, I confronted her. Why is the appointment under my name, and why did you come out of the examination room? The doctor, who had been listening, spoke up. Mrs. Thomas, I apologize for not realizing it wasn't you. She was wearing a mask, so I couldn't tell. But I did think it was strange the baby was too small for someone 17 weeks pregnant. It makes sense now. My sister and I look alike, and with her mask on, the doctor had noticed the difference. Doctor, the person you just examined is my sister, I said, and that man there is my husband? What? So you mean the father of the baby I just examined is? The doctor turned to John with a sharp look. I watched as John's face turned pale, and in that moment, I finally understood everything. John, Karen, I said, I need an explanation. Start from the beginning. Both of them, looking defeated, slowly began to talk. They admitted they had been in a relationship for about a year. While I was going through fertility treatments, they had given in to temptation. After I got pregnant, they were happy at first, but then Karen found out she was pregnant too. Karen had asked John to come with her to the hospital because she was scared. Dan, being careless, accidentally booked the appointment under my name. When he realized the mistake, he panicked, pretended to forget the insurance card, and went through with the check-in under my account. While I was in the restroom, the staff at the front desk changed shifts. When they called the name for the appointment, Karen must have slipped into the examination room without running into me. Since she was wearing a mask, the doctor didn't immediately realize it wasn't me. But during the examination, it became clear she wasn't me. Just as the doctor was wondering about this, I arrived at the exam room. After that, I calmed down and had my own checkup. Thankfully, the abdominal pain was diagnosed as harmless, and there was no problem with my baby. Once done, I took my husband and my sister straight to our parents' house. I also called John's parents and asked them to come over. When everyone was gathered, I explained everything that had happened. You're going to take responsibility, right? I asked John. John stammered. Responsibility? Of course, I'll stay with you, Christy. What are you talking about? We're obviously getting a divorce, I said. But you just mentioned responsibility. The responsibility I'm talking about is alimony. I'm going to make sure both you and Karen pay for what you've done. What? Wait a minute. I never intended to get a divorce, John protested. John's words made Karen furious. What? You told me you loved me more. Was that a lie? She yelled, grabbing his collar. The two of them began to argue. Their bickering pushed me to my limit. I grabbed the tea from the table and splashed it on both of them, yelling, Enough. I don't care what you think. I'm divorcing John, and I'm cutting ties with Karen. Both of you just need to pay the alimony, quietly. Christy, the one I love is you, John pleaded. I'm your sister, aren't I? Don't talk about alimony, Karen added. Shut up, both of you. You only say what suits you. How much more are you going to humiliate me? I will collect the alimony, even if it means dragging both of you down. I'll do whatever it takes. Get out of my sight, you scumbag, I yelled. At that, both John and Karen dropped to their knees in front of me. Please forgive me, Christy, I beg you, John pleaded. I'm begging you to, Karen added. But it was too late for their apologies. What they did was unforgivable, and I had no intention of forgiving them. After that, I divorced John. Just as expected, I blocked Karen's contact information. and cut all ties with both of them. They were disowned by their families and had to live on their own. John's affairs spread at his workplace, thanks to his parents, and soon his co-workers were giving him cold stares. Unable to handle the tension, he stopped going to work and eventually got fired. Karen, on the other hand, suffered from severe morning sickness and had already quit her job. Now both jobless, whenever they saw each other, they would argue and curse, leading a miserable life. Though they started living together, they hadn't married, and I doubt they ever will. As for me, I moved back to my parents' house. I'm now focusing on my pregnancy and switched to remote work. Though my child won't have a father, I'm determined to love them with all my heart and do my best as a single mother.